So if you've ever wondered if there's anything you can do to make your barber's life easier and give you the best haircut in the world, this video is for you. I'm gonna share with you the 7 tips that I know to get the best haircut in the barbershop. Coming from a barber, if every single client did one of these things, we'd be able to give the best haircuts ever. Starting with number 1, prepare your hair. So before you come to the barbershop, make sure your hair is clean. Try to avoid coming into the shop with hair product or things in your hair that are gonna make it more difficult for your barber to cut your hair. A clean hair is easier to work with, so wash all the product out of your hair if you can. Don't wear a hat before you come into the barbershop because it leaves a line on your scalp, and if you're getting like a close, tight fade, it could look like there's a line in the fade, but it's actually just your skin that was pressed down by the hat. So don't wear a hat before you come into the shop, and try to come in with clean hair and you'll get a better haircut. Also, try not to come into the barbershop when you're sweaty or you just came from work, maybe you work outside. Please don't come from the gym. And it actually makes it a lot more difficult to cut the hair because the oils and the dirt on the skin the hair sticks to the skin and makes it much harder to fade. Try to avoid coming to the barbershop with dirty skin or dirty hair because it's gonna make your barber's job a lot harder. And also, if you just came from the gym, like, we can tell, you know, so it's kind of unpleasant when you're cutting somebody who smells awful. So try to avoid coming into the barbershop when you're just coming from the gym or coming from work and you work outside. So another tip on how to get the best haircut is know how to talk to your barber. We actually have a whole video on how to do this on our YouTube channel, but basically you want to know exactly what to say to your barber so that they know how to do their job. So watch that video, it's on our YouTube channel, but basically know the right words to say and what not to say in order to communicate to your barber what you want them to do, right? And pictures are great as well, but also keep in mind that when you're asking your barber to do something, some of them may caution you against that, and that's okay, that's their job, but some of them will just do what you ask and then you may be upset with it. For example, hair is about 30% or so longer when it's wet. So when a barber is cutting your hair on the top, for example, it's actually a lot longer when it's wet than when it dries. So if you keep telling your barber to go shorter and shorter, and then when it dries out, it looks way too short. Like, if you're not sure if you want the barber to cut more, ask them to dry it out, because then you'll see the real length of your hair before you leave the barbershop, and you won't find out when it's too late. So know how to talk to your barber, know the words to say, and keep those things in mind. If your hair's like really fine, for example, you want to maybe ask the barber to cut it dry with no water. So that way you can actually see what it's gonna look like when it's dry, because the hair might look completely different when it's wet, and then when it dries, it's like not what you wanted at all. So know how to talk to your barbers. Tip number 2. Another tip on how to get the best haircut at the barbershop is come prepared. So what do I mean by that? I mean, bring pictures. Don't come to the barbershop and have no idea what you want, because chances are, especially if you're going to a busy barbershop or a busy barber, like, they're very limited on time. Of course, they're gonna try to get you the best haircut possible, but the more time you take trying to figure out what you want, the less time they're gonna have to actually cut your hair and give you what you want. So try to come prepared with pictures. We've even had clients bring videos. At least know how to guide your barber, give them something to start with, or at least tell them what you don't want, and that way they can start to get an idea of what kind of haircut you're looking for or whatever type of service you're trying to get. So don't come to the barbershop without any idea what you want. It ends up frustrating your barber in a lot of cases, because especially if they're busy, like, they don't have a whole lot of time to help figure that out for you, because they have to spend most of their time actually doing the haircut. So try to come prepared before you show up. It's gonna make your barber's life a lot easier, which means you're gonna get a better haircut. Here's another tip for how to get a good haircut at the barbershop, and that's show up early. If you're going to a barber and they're busy, chances are they're pretty booked and that there's probably not a whole lot of free time in their schedule. So if you show up early and they finish up with their last appointment early, that's now more time that they have to spend on your hair. So if you show up early to your appointment and they take you back early, that means you now, instead of maybe a 30-minute appointment, maybe now you get a 45-minute appointment. And that just makes the chances that you're gonna get a good haircut that much better. So try to show up early to your appointments. You'll probably get a better haircut as a result. Another tip on how to get a good haircut at the barbershop is find a good barber. This seems pretty straightforward, but we have another video on how to find a good barber. But basically, you'll get a good haircut if you find a good barber. If you do all these other things, it's just gonna make the chances that you get a good haircut better. But find a good barber, I should say barber, and you will get a good haircut. Easy, right? And another thing with finding a good barber is, even if you don't do these things, if they're good enough, they can help you figure out what you want. if you're not prepared or if you don't show up early. Maybe they can still get the haircut done. They can figure out what you want even though you don't know how to talk to them. And even if you come in with dirty hair, they can still give you a good haircut, right? Because they're that good. So this is probably one of the most powerful tips in terms of how to get a good haircut, is just to find a good barber. Because if you do none of these other things, you can still get a good haircut. So if you want to know how to find a good barber, check out that other video on our channel and you'll get some tips on how to do that. Another tip on how to get a good haircut is trust your barber, especially if they're good. So a barber's main job is to give you the best haircut for you. It's not necessarily to give you what you want. Now, of course, 99% of barbers are just gonna give you what you want, but there are the barbers out there, the good ones, that will actually say, I don't know if that's the best haircut for you. Have you considered trying this? You have to kind of trust your barber's suggestions and just trust in their experience, especially if they're a good barber, and also trust in the way that they're cutting hair, because they may be doing things that you haven't seen before. Maybe they don't keep the chair stationary. Maybe they actually like to turn the chair while they're cutting your hair so that they can use the mirror to check your haircut, because the mirror is actually a tool. That's the way most barbers are taught in barber school, is to use the mirror as a tool. If the barber is turning your chair, that's actually a good thing. That means they're checking their work rather than just putting you into the mirror the whole time and then you don't get to see the back of your head till you get home. You want the barber to be checking their work as they do it. And if they're a good barber, just trust them, trust in the techniques that they're using. Don't tell them how to cut your hair, just tell them how you want it done and trust them to let it happen. And another tip on how to get the best haircut at the barbershop is leave a note. Some booking systems will allow you to leave a note when you're with the appointment, when you're booking your appointment with your barber. If that's an option, take advantage of it. It's not gonna cost you anything. If you have a special request, if you wanna put details in how you get your haircut done, or you need certain accommodations, let them know in advance when you set the appointment. So that way they can get ready for you before you come there. Or maybe you put in a haircut style that barber's not even comfortable with. So if they know that in advance, maybe they can recommend another barber in the barbershop who's actually better for you. Because this is not a video on how to find a good barber. This is how to get the best haircut. So maybe the person that you think is going to give you the best haircut isn't. Maybe it's the person to the left or right of them. And if you leave a note, maybe they can actually recommend somebody who can actually do that haircut better for you. You know, if you have moles or some kind of skin condition that they should know about in advance, like leave a note. Just give them a heads up and you will get a better haircut as a result of that. So I hope you found these tips helpful. Thank you for watching.